Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows the only way you'd give a freshly minted driver a brand new car is if he promises to never drive it. Instead, let him grind the gears and knock over the neighbor's mailbox in something a little more suited to his skill level. And with over 500,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, he can safely drive something that's nearly as old as he is. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for him. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
There we go. We are live right now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Source Material Bonus. Coming at you, it's a bonus episode. I just got the old burr up the butt today to do a bonus episode. And I was just like, well, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And if everything works out okay, you're actually hearing this episode shortly after me, Ronnie, and Mark completed the second part of Iron Fist: The Living Weapon. So, and that was done before the Netflix series actually hit. So, you'll be have a he. Yeah, I'm here. So tonight I thought, well, let's try and let's put something in along with Iron Fist. What could it be? You know, like I was telling Ronnie earlier here before we got on here, I was thinking maybe we could do the first appearance. Couldn't find it, but I was able to find the first. What I believe is the first meeting, or at least I know it is the first instance in which Danny Rand, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage, Power Man, team up or at least it's the genesis of these two guys coming together and forming a partnership. Now, Ronnie, welcome to Source Material, by the way. Like I do an intro every time or something. I don't know. Dude, Luke Cage, Power Man, and Danny Rand, Iron Fist. Now, those two names have been, synonymous with each other for quite a while in the Marvel universe, right?
Yeah. You rarely hear one without the other.
Yeah. So I think it'd be neat because we know for a fact that the Defenders series is going to come together and it's going to feature these two along with Doctor Strange. And I'm talking about the Netflix series, by the way, folks. It's going to feature Doctor Strange, Power Man, Iron Fist, Daredevil, and I assume Jessica Jones is also going to be involved in some way. So those 5 people are coming together. But the two that have been together the longest, I believe, are Power Man and Iron Fist. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at Power Man number 48. Now, if you guys, anybody's out there watching the YouTube live, we're going to be showing you, I'm going to kind of go through the comic as we talk about it. But right now up on the screen is the cover of Power Man number 48. Ronnie, can you see it there?
Absolutely can.
Okay. Now, what do you think of that cover, dude? I mean,
well, just like any great Marvel team up, it starts with a fight.
Yeah, that's the truth. We got Power Man, who looks like he's holding, let's see, that is probably a part of a building, or maybe it's part of the asphalt. I don't know, but wanton destruction. They are in a building. You can see that's Iron Fist looks like he's, I don't know, leaning over, trying to avoid getting crushed by the rubble there, and delivering a kick or something to Power Man's face, Luke Cage's face. But I'm going to just read this cover here for our listeners. You got some bad moves, ballet britches, but kung fu kicks and a flaming fist won't stop me from bringing this building down on your head. All right.
There's so much wrong with that.
I mean, first off, we don't really, and I'm not going to delve into the history of Power Man because, number one, I didn't do the research, so hey, there's that. The other thing is that when we talk Luke Cage, Power Man, we're thinking he's a hero,
right?
And here we have Iron Fist, who we know is a hero. And do you see who that is back there behind Iron Fist? Do you know who that is by the chance, Ronnie?
No.
There is looks to be a redheaded girl back there. That's your girlfriend, Colleen Wing.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't recognize her.
Yeah, there's going to be some neat. Now that me and you have seen both series, we've seen Luke Cage and we've seen Iron Fist.
Yes.
Just wait till we get into this issue because this came out, close to 40 years prior to the Netflix series coming out. there are going to be some neat references to some characters and some really crazy, I wouldn't say crazy, but the relationships between the characters almost are like, well, wait a second. So anyway, we'll get to that. Were you going to say something?
I have to admit that I have a slight obsession with the actress that plays Colleen Wing on
I
Iron
could
Fist.
tell. I could tell when we were talking about it a couple of nights ago with Screaming Boy. I was like, he's got a thing for her. He's trying. And what was funny was you were trying not to be like, gosh, she's pretty. She's so pretty.
She's so hot.
I don't blame you. You can't, hey, they picked a very capable actress, and she's got a pretty face as well. So I can't blame you, sir. But we just finished the series yesterday, the Iron Fist series, and
the Iron Hand.
Iron Hand, yes. Mindy's satisfied now. We have watched all 13 episodes of Iron Hand, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty decent. I think Josh brought up a pretty good criticism of it there earlier. I don't know if you saw what he said on his Facebook, but he had said, for a series that was focused or should have been more focused on the fighting, this one kind of felt lackluster in that regard. And I'll tell you what, right now, I mean, I was still entertained by when the crap hit the fan. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
Like when Danny and Davos are taking out the guys. I think when the fights hit, I was satisfied. Now I know you're a kung fu.
I love martial arts flicks.
Enthusiast.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
I expected it.
Okay.
Because you're going to get a little more talky with these series than you are punch kick.
Gotcha.
But like I've said before, the fight scenes feel more real to me in some aspects because while the kung fu and the martial arts that you see like Jackie Chan and a few of them do are very, very fluid and very pretty and almost like a dance because Jackie Chan he trained in dance before he trained in martial arts. Mm-hmm. It was more of a, when he was a child, he went to this dance school and, it was kind of rough. I mean, that's, but it feels more, I don't know. It feels like they're hitting harder to me.
I got you. Well, so that aside, our discussions about the Iron Fist series aside, we'll go ahead and get in here and talk about Marvel Comics. Yeah, SES at the end of that. We're going to talk about the first meeting of Iron Fist and Power Man here. So this is in the pages of Power Man 48. Now, we jump right in here. Let's go ahead and, before we get into that, go ahead and I want to give props to our creators who are, at this time, Chris Claremont and John Byrne, which I believe those two were a creative team that was paired together for X-Men as well, and probably wrote some of the greatest X-Men stories that were out there. So to see their names tagged to Power Man, which I didn't think was a very good. Well, when I go back in my comic book annals, I'm looking for. I'm not looking for Power Man. I'm not looking for Power Man issues. Nothing stands out to me about that character, so I was never into this guy. And to see that they reached 48 issues, and back in the 70s, I'm sure they probably kept a pretty regular schedule of monthly, I would assume.
I think it went up in the 120s, maybe a little more. Yeah.
Well, what we have here is, and I want to read. I got this straight from the wiki, and I'll read it here. It says, eventually, Power Man sales became unsustainable. And this is right here when this happens, about around issue 48, a little bit prior to this. Marvel decided to combine his series with Iron Fist, another once popular superhero who could no longer support his own series, in order to save both characters from full cancellation. Iron Fist joined the cast of Power Man in a 3-part story arc in issues 48 through 50. So we're starting at the issue we're talking about tonight is the very first issue of that 3-part story arc. The series title changed to Power Man and Iron Fist with number 50. Even though the Indica and Indicia, I assume their index or whatever, did not reflect this change until issue 67. So here we go. We're jumping into Power Man issue 48. Like I said, we got Colleen Wing. What's she doing here? Well, how is she involved? Well, Colleen's hanging out at Rand Tower, and introduce her as one of Danny's closest friends. Okay, doesn't say hey, they're a thing or anything like that. But first page right out the gate, she's pouring some coffee, and here comes Luke Cage. Well, coffee's involved. I guess Luke Cage is not too far behind. That's a go get some coffee joke, Ronnie. But
I was just making sure before I laughed.
Oh, I just put that together right now. But anyway,
like it.
Luke Cage busting through the door. I mean, just boom. Heads up, Misty Knight, because Power Man's coming at you. Well, wait a second. This ain't Misty Knight. What's going on here? So Colleen Wing's taken aback, question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. And
only like
next time you're surprised, somebody surprises you at work, just look at them with a stunned face and go question mark, exclamation mark, question mark.
The only thing I could relate that to is her going, "Buh."
So here comes Power Man. Now, like I said, he's busting through the door, yelling about Misty Knight, and Colleen does her best to escape what she believes is a Power Man who has turned back to committing crimes. So Power Man's made a name for himself, and I believe he's a hero for hire at this point in time. He's got a name for himself, a bit of a reputation that Colleen knows about. But Power Man, Luke Cage, he's a little confused. He's like, wait a second, you're not Misty Knight. And as she runs away, he takes chase. He's trying to find out where Misty Knight's at. He knows Colleen is friends with Misty. I think at this time, and I should have jumped in and did a little bit more research on it, but Misty Knight, Colleen, and I think there was a third, they were like a team where they were
Daughters of the Dragon.
I possibly, I don't know. I mean, do you know for sure?
It was just Colleen Wing and Misty Knight were known as the Daughters of the Dragon.
Okay, just those two.
Yeah.
Patsy Hellcat wasn't involved in any way.
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, all right. So anyway, he knows they know each other, and he takes off after her and tries to tackle her. Now, we're trying to figure out. We're confused here. At least I am at issue 48 as to why Power Man is tackling Colleen Wing, as she barely gets away. Now we get a bit of a tussle, and as she attempts to escape, and at one point she's able to block the door with a bookcase, and she makes a desperate call to her friend Misty Knight. Now, Misty is not in Rand Tower here. She is over at her own apartment. And you know what she's doing, Ronnie Adams?
Well, I just want to point out that she locked the door on a guy with super strength and steel hard skin. And instead of punching through it, he actually stops to check the doorknob and says, "Oh, the door's locked."
and then he's like, boom, coming through.
I mean, he threw a couch through a window in the Netflix series.
That's right.
He's in the comics that I've read, he's beat Purple Man to within an inch of his life, like literally, he was just about to die, and they had to stop him. I don't know the limits of his strength, but it's up there. He can give the Thing a run for his money. But he stopped to check the door.
Well, he didn't do that at first. For some reason, he decided the entrance. He made an entrance into the apartment by busting through the door.
The dude busts through the door when he wants to come in, to the apartment, but he's going to be polite enough to check the doorknobs when he's inside. Sorry,
but it's just long enough for her to get that call out to Misty, who picks up at the other end and is able to hear. She's able to hear the last few words before the phone's disconnected. And she realizes that, Colleen's in trouble. And as Luke Cage busts this door down and the bookcase goes along with it, right on top of Colleen Wing. So she's out of commission for sure. Now let's go over to Misty Knight's apartment where she's entertaining one Danny Rand.
Oh,
yeah. So here's one of the things I was going to talk about. We're used to what we've seen in the Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Cage and Misty Knight were a bit of a thing.
Yeah.
Or at least there was, there definitely was something.
There were some hints.
Yes. And I think at the beginning, I don't know, I think towards the end it was more Luke Cage and Claire Templeton.
Yeah.
But I think that carries over into the Iron Fist series.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's Misty Knight and Danny Rand having a bit of a date at her apartment. Let me go over to my notes here real quick. So yeah, Danny Rand, a.k.a. Iron Fist. Now she receives the call and she hurries over to Rand Tower. So she's got to check on her, she's got to check on her friend, Colleen, see what's going on. What in the world, she's obviously in trouble. So she takes off over there. Now outside of Rand Tower are two shady figures. And I say shady, I mean one guy by the name of Shades. And another guy, which I have no clue who this is. A guy by the name of Comanche. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of strange because Shades, from the Netflix
70s.
I know. Shades is wearing his glasses, which, okay, I'm cool with that. But then we got Comanche, who's got a mask on and then a headband. I assume, what I think of when I hear Comanche, I think of Indian heritage.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with Comanche. However, these two are kind of bit players, but we do find out that they're the ones that put up. They have either manipulated or they're behind Luke Cage's actions here. Okay. Now, so these guys aren't on the up and up, and apparently they're the ones that are after Misty Knight, and they've sent Luke Cage to go and grab her. Hence, Luke Cage busting down the door and, okay, Misty Knight, you're coming with me. Oh, wait a sec. She's not here. But Misty Knight does finally show up, and Shades and Comanche are like, oh, okay, well, there she is, but let's just let Luke Cage handle things. And as Misty Knight goes into Rand Tower and finds Luke Cage, who's tending to Colleen Wing's broken arm. So yeah, she got messed up. Even though she is portrayed as a bit of a martial artist here. Clearly, she's part of Daughters of the Dragon. She's got some moxie, but. when a bookcase comes a falling on you, sometimes you just can't get out of the way.
Yeah, all the moxie in the world can't help you then.
That's right. So she gets she's getting her arm tended to, but Misty busts in, and Power Man just kind of looks at her and says, "Okay, well, you're either going with me peaceably or in pieces." Well, that ain't going to fly with Misty Knight. So she takes her gun out, unloads on him. Of course, Power Man, you're not going to damage Luke Cage in any way. So he comes at her, right? And he's about to grab her, and she hits him with her hand. And he goes flying backwards, very surprised. And he mentions about, oh yeah, I heard you had that bionic arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no wonder she was able to do a little bit of damage to Power Man here. I mean, at least take him by surprise and knock him off his balance. But now I think they kind of alluded to that in the series, didn't they? In the Netflix series, like, didn't she get her arm like really messed up or something?
Yeah.
She's about to lose her arm, so she probably gets the bionic arm. But anyway, so Luke Cage, he's got a hold of Misty Knight's arm. You're coming with me. And she's like, I don't think so. And of course she fights back. Power Man's a little upset about that and proceeds to fling her across the room into some furniture.
Like one does.
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah. You throw women everywhere. But
well, I mean, George Lucas makes, his characters punch women.
That's right. So now as he goes over to check on Misty, because she's out now, she took the brunt of that fall. A shadowy figure. Now, dude, I'm just going to break these panels down. This is tremendous stuff because even for the 70s, this is what really surprised me.
It gets apparently it gets really good right here.
Yes,
not apparently, but it gets really good right here.
It does. As Luke Cage is down there checking on Misty, in the back you see like a darkened hallway. There's nothing there at first, and then the next panel, as he continues. Luke Cage is lamenting about the fact that he just threw a woman across the room. He's like, man, what's next, kids? But as he's saying that, then all of a sudden you see just nothing but a forearm and a fist. There's nothing there but that. And then the next panel, you see a very shaded Iron Fist in the background. And Power Man has no idea what's going on. And then that last panel is so great. Mr. Cage, turn around. Huh? And he turns around, And the next page is probably one of the greatest. Dude, if I was reading this comic, they better have put that build up on like the second page. So when I turn the page, this splash page shows up, which is Luke Cage just flying out of a building.
Yeah.
You don't see a punch. All you see is the after effect, which is Luke Cage screaming bloody murder, flying through the air. It's all one page. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful splash.
Yeah, it really is.
And he, up to this point, Luke Cage is this Power Man is just this unstoppable force against these women. And then when he meets the Iron Fist, or what I should say is when the Iron Fist meets him, things turned around. So probably one of the most epic pages I'd seen in quite a while. So what's even better is this next page as he's flying through the air and Shades are sitting there and their jaws are just dropped and they watch Luke Cage fly into a building and the building just comes down, which is it's uninhabited, by the way. It's an abandoned brownstone, but so nobody gets hurt. We don't have our what is it? Our what did Mark call it? He called it when it was the Man of Steel.
Yeah,
the Man of Steel effect, where when
a lot of collateral damage
didn't really affect too many lives here since this was abandoned. But anyway, so yeah, Shades and Comanche are like, okay, screw this. Power Man just went flying across there, and they get the hell out. They slam on the gas and they leave.
We're done here.
We're done. I don't know who could do that to Luke Cage, but whoever it is, we're not sticking around to find out. So they get out of they get out of Dodge, and now of course Power Man is not down for the count. He gets up out of the rubble and comes back, and we get a 3-page fight between Iron Fist and Power Man. And here's the thing: Power Man, it's in his name. Raw power. Okay, this guy has unbreakable skin. He looks tough. I'm sure he's got super strength, just like you said. If he can take on the Thing, you don't want to get hit by this dude.
Right.
So Iron Fist. When we went over his powers, I don't think he had like any healing ability or anything other than he could heal himself.
Yeah, he can heal himself and others by sacrificing his chi.
Yeah.
He can augment his strength to a point, not like super strength, but he can definitely augment it. Yeah,
and in this fight, we're looking at this 4-panel fight right here on this on this page. A lot of it is, Danny does not want to get hit. Iron Fist does not want to get hit by Power Man, so you've got to duck and dodge. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm sure you did. A lot of what I saw in the Iron Fist Netflix series was when he fought, it was all about making sure that the other dude did not hit him.
Yeah.
And when he did, he would somehow either get out of the way and then use it to his advantage, or he would just, straight up let the other guy wear himself out and then he would attack or something like that. But, and that was similar to what's going on here. He doesn't want to get hit. So he just, he would duck and dodge and then use, what did he call it? Well, obviously on the cover, he called it ballet bridges. Here we go. Down here on the third panel, he says, "You're playing Jackrabbit ain't going to save you forever, punk." But Danny Rand,
Jackrabbit.
That's right. He's getting out of the way, jumping around. Well, finally, I think Luke Cage has had enough. I'm going to read this because this is great. He says, now I got to find it. Here we go. Just like I'm tired of waltzing to your kung fu tune, Iron Fist. So let's see how well you do your fancy footwork when you got no floor to dance on. And he proceeds to rip the floor of this apartment building apart. And it takes Danny Rand by surprise. He's laying on the ground, and in comes I'll tell you right now, you do not want to grapple with Power Man.
No, no.
Don't want to do it. And Iron Fist's not moving anywhere, and Luke Cage takes one hand, 2 hands, wraps it around Iron Fist's neck. And here we have, on this page, Iron Fist has got to do one or two things, and it's going through his head how to get out of this situation. Right now his vice grip like hands are around his throat, squeezing every little bit of life out of him. And Rand's like, okay, I could go for this and blind him, or I could do an ear pop and do a killing blow, pop his eardrums, killing blow. But he's fading. He's fading fast. And what he realizes, he actually says there, he says, I sense at heart, Power Man is not a killer. So he knows that in his actions, even though it may seem villainous, he's a pure at heart. And thank goodness Luke Cage recognizes what he's doing here. He realizes that he's not a murderer. And so he immediately lets go and lets Iron Fist get up. And that's pretty much the end. Iron Fist gets up, and then Iron Fist is like, well, okay, you need to explain what you're doing. Why are you doing this? Tell us why, Luke Cage. And Luke Cage laments that, I assume, since he cannot do what he needs to do, in other words, he can't bring himself to number one, grab Misty Knight and take her where these Shades of Comanche need him to go, which he mentions a guy by the name of Big Boss, the Big Man. He says, what's the use? You've won, the Big Man's won, and I've just killed the two people who are closest to me in all the world. So right there, it sounds like what he's saying is, I assume the big, we have no idea what's going on. It's not like,
right.
Okay.
We only read this one episode. Get off our backs.
They didn't
not episode.
They didn't give us a big page sprawl of what has led up to this. So my assumption is that Shades, Comanche, and Big Man put Luke Cage up to grab Misty Knight, and now he can't do it. And because he can't do it, I assume they've got a couple people that's close to him hostage.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Shades and Comanche aren't exactly on Kingpin or Doc Ock's level. They're working for somebody, not it ain't.
Yeah,
they're not the brains behind the whole thing. And I did a little bit of research on Comanche real quick. He was
yes,
he basically he was the bad Hawkeye,
really,
hand to hand and arrows, even trick arrows.
Huh?
Yeah.
How does it have like a list of what was his first appearance by chance?
No, I didn't go that far into it. Yeah.
Well, at least we know a little bit more.
Comanche.
Well, I mean, that works, I guess. I don't. Well, okay. Let me go ahead and read what the next issue is going to be, which is Seagate is a lonely place to die. Now, Seagate was the prison, wasn't it? That's what I thought. Okay. It's been a while since I've seen the series. However, I dug this. I dug this issue. I thought this was actually really cool. Aside from the fact I don't really give anything from the 70s much credit, and that's really, that's me personally, because a lot of arguments could be made about some of the great work that happened in the 70s, especially with Marvel. But I always felt like some of the goofiest crap. We were coming out of the 60s, which was, we're trying to figure out if comics were for kids or if they were for adults. Okay, we can't have them for adults because kids are reading them. So we get the 70s, which is almost like a toned down. Okay, we just keep fighting bad guys after bad guys, and it didn't seem like there were any great stories. Now the thing is that I haven't read much of the 70s, so me saying that is really, I can't say that and know that for sure.
Right, me too.
So this story was great, and I don't know if it's because I have, I have that little bit of knowledge now of who Power Man and Iron Fist are, especially with the Netflix series, and of course doing this show. And reading Iron Fist: The Living Weapon. I don't think I've ever read anything with Power Man on here, at least not covered it.
I don't think you have.
I don't think so. So I say this was a great story. I tell you right now, it was a when they planned out the battle, I thought that was pretty cool. It does feel kind of like standard fare. Like, okay, here's Power Man. Here's Power Man. He's under the influence of something bad. But now I'm kind of curious as to what's going to happen in the next few issues. And I'll tell you right now, if I was reading back in the 70s and these two characters are just about to come together and continue a run with each other for quite a while, I would have been hooked. I've been like, all right, Iron Fist is in on this now. And I'm sure it doesn't say this here at the end of this issue, but I would imagine in the next issue, Iron Fist is like, well, hey, let me help you out, dude.
Yeah.
How about we go to Seagate, or how about we go and rescue your friends? So it was a neat I could tell you it was pretty neat to see these two come together, and it was fun little origin of this team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you don't get. I mean, I've not actually. This was the first time I've ever really been exposed to the origin of the team. Power Man and Iron Fist.
Yeah,
but it was kind of like when I was reading comic books and I got into more than just the Spider-Man, and not that there's anything wrong with just being involved with Spider-Man, but when I found out there were more heroes out there, you just kind of always put them together. Power Man and Iron Fist. It was a peanut butter and jelly, so they were always together, and so but I never really gave it a second thought of how they came together or why they came together. But just like we said, like all Marvel, like before all great team ups comes the fight.
That's right. And they usually see each other's differences, and they unite for a common goal, and then they move on. So I'm looking at the cover here for issue 49, just to give our listeners an idea of what's on the cover of the next issue. We have Iron Fist, who's been laid out, and Power Man, and a guy by the name of Bushmaster, because it seems like
Bushmaster.
I don't even know. I've never heard of this dude.
You never heard of Bushmaster?
That guy is wearing.
He is wearing a fancy shirt. Shirt. I was going to say shirt, but he's wearing a fancy outfit.
Well,
you can't even constitute it as a shirt.
It's got a neck to it, but there's like no. Okay, imagine
there's no sides.
It's a onesie.
Yeah,
it's a onesie with no arms and
a sleeveless onesie.
Sleeve.
Holy crap!
The
70s were a weird time.
Man. So here we go. Yeah, Bushmaster, who I've never heard of before, but yeah, Bushmaster's got got Power Man by the throat, while Power Man's rearing back, ready to punch him in the face. And of course, Bushmaster's got to have some cool glasses on here. Some glasses. I don't care if you're stronger than me, Bushmaster. You're going to pay for his life. Iron Fist is finished, and your next Cage, because I got the power now. Cage returns to the prison where it all began.
Leroy.
Cage returns to the prison where it all began. Seagate is a lonely place to die. So very interesting, man. I enjoyed it. I thought this was pretty cool. I hope this is a fun little bonus episode for those that kind of wanted some more Iron Fist content. If you get the opportunity, we're looking at what is called the Epic Collection. Let me make sure. Yeah, the Power Man and Iron Fist Epic Collection. 444 pages
of
Power
irony goodness.
I wonder if there is a lot of irony in here. You never know.
Well, that's not quite what I meant, but I will tell you this. I'm really disappointed in the amount of jive talk in this.
There wasn't a whole lot.
There wasn't any. I wanted more.
When he's given Colleen the business and yelling at her, there's a little bit there, but
yeah.
And you talk about some wordy stuff. That's another reason why I kind of
stay away. The 70s were a wordy time for comic books.
It's like they have to explain everything they're doing. It's like, trouble is, lady, I'm Power Man, and I don't go under or around nothing. I go through.
Yeah.
And it just seems like he has to.
Nobody cares, Luke. Just punch something.
Yeah, that's where I think that would be awesome if they were just like, okay, let's go ahead and scale back on the word balloons. And as time went on, clearly that's what they did. They were just like, okay, let the art talk.
Yeah.
And you shut up.
Did you ever read any G.I. Joe comics?
I did. I read a few.
Did you ever read the completely wordless one?
The silent one?
Yeah.
I have not read it. It's one of the most popular.
I own it.
Do you really now?
Yeah. And it is Storm Shadow, I think. Well, it's definitely Zartan.
Isn't Snake Eyes involved?
Snake Eyes, Zartan, the ninjas everywhere. There are no words spoken through the whole thing, just sound effects, and of course they're awesome. Zap, Zot, all that other stuff, but slash hack. But it was brilliant, and they go from, I think that was late 80s, early 90s maybe, they go from this, and you and I both did see the original Secret War.
Yes.
And it was just, I mean, it had more words than a Dickens novel. And they go from that to pulling something off like that, and I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I remember loving it as a kid. Something that was something weird for me to like something that didn't have any explanation or anything, but it was all action, and it spoke for itself. So it really, times have changed for comic books.
I agree.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun to go back and read these too, especially with the cultural differences and the stuff that they could get away with then, but can't get away with now.
Oh yeah.
But it's really funny and sometimes a little embarrassing to read.
Yeah, dude. I mean, when you read somebody, I'm pretty certain Chris Claremont's white.
Yeah.
And he has to write a black character. And, nowadays, a white person writing language like this is
job talk, man.
Yeah. I mean, and that was what was, I assume, popularized in the movies and pop culture at the time.
Yeah.
And they just took from that.
Well,
but it made – I'm not saying that it downgraded it or anything like that.
No.
I think it made –
it was a part of what it was.
Yeah, it was a part of what it was. And I don't know if – go ahead.
It would be totally different and it wouldn't – I was going to say it wouldn't be what it was without it, which is just ridiculous wording. But it wouldn't have been it wouldn't be classic without it. I know that. But,
yeah.
It gives it its charm, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're right. It's the late 70s.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop this screen share real quick. Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. Let's just take a look real quick. I talk about the pop culture and stuff like that. Let's see what the top movies were. This was December of 1977. That date was on that comic. Let's take a look at the movies that came out in 1977. And I'm just curious as to just a little film called Star Wars at the time.
Yeah, in 77, there was no big deal.
Not much of an influence on this comic, but clearly a lot of
cultural
others.
Impact whatsoever.
We have Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, there's some of your.
Here's your disco.
Yeah.
Bring your V-neck shirt down, show your chest hair. We got some of these. I don't know. Let me take a look. I'm looking to see if I can find any kung fu movies that kind of stick out from 77.
You also had, this was the era of the blaxploitation movies, and a lot of those movies, like your Grindhouse movies, things like that were popularized in the 70s, used martial arts. Kind of a dumbed down version of them, but they use martial arts and kung fu and stuff like that in all of them. Just about, it felt like somebody was always getting a chop to the neck or something, and so I can see where that comes into play with these comic books. So what can make something we got two dying comic books here. Let's put them together, and one of them has to do one of them already does martial arts. The other one's a fast talking streetwise reformed thug.
Muscle bound hero.
So it just
the clash of the cultures.
It made sense at the time.
The clash of the cultures made it very interesting. Well,
absolutely.
We don't get a whole lot of that with Iron Fist, other than the fact that he's martial arts, and we see him. And I'm talking about in this specific in this book right here.
Right.
We just see Power Man, who's clearly the subject of the Power Man comic, and we see a lot of what he's doing. But then when Danny Rand shows up and Iron Fist and Power Man go at it, you just can't wait to see what else is going to happen next. How are these two going to get along? Oh, that's awesome. Well, you got anything else you'd like to say about this particular comic before I'm going to go ahead and sign off, or we'll get the plugs and then we'll sign off. You got anything else you'd like to say?
Job talk.
Well, I'm certain that if you go back into the archives of Power Man, if you find yourself go to a con at some time, I guarantee you can find You could probably find it.
I'm afraid of what I would find if I went back into to Power Man because it wouldn't be PC, that's for sure.
I hear you. All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll just quickly get into plugs here, sir. You do a podcast, if I remember correctly.
Sometimes.
No,
yeah. You and I just it's a Screaming Boy podcast, and you and I just recorded an episode the other night, which is going to drop tomorrow. We also did a live one right here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, which is going to drop tomorrow as well. It is anything nerd culture, comic books. We kind of leave that to you. But and you are our comic book guru on there. I will mention that. But so we've got movies, video games, TV, comic books, a little bit of sports sometimes when we can. So we've got all that stuff. We've got coming to iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and it's already been on the Radulich Broadcasting Network because it was live. But Kong Skull Island, along with talked about some kaiju movies, which is literally is big monster, monster movie. That's in Japanese. Then the episode that's going to drop after that, we've got two of them in one day. It's just you and I just bullcrapped a little bit, and it led into some Iron Fist talk, and things got a little heated with me. And then I thought about Colleen Wing, and I calmed down.
Yes, you've centered your chi.
I did. I centered my chi, and then we talked about Ghost Recon Wildlands, and we talked about silliest G.I. Joe names ever.
Oh, that was fun.
Oh man,
I don't want to give it away.
I will say that I embarrassed myself by signing off on the show. It's something that probably should never have happened.
Which made it into the show description, by the way. That's on Blog Talk right now.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
There were 3 things, and the third was that. So that was great.
Oh Lord, that's gonna haunt me. It's gonna haunt me.
Oh man. So where can they find you at?
Tune in, iTunes, tune in, Stitcher, Radulich Broadcasting Network, any form of social media. We're on it. Just look up a Screaming Boy podcast, and then Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We even have I don't ever use it, but we do have a Snapchat. And then you can find us on www.screamingboy.com. And I think that's about it.
All right.
We are a lot of different places.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for joining me on an impromptu.
Thank you, sir.
Impromptu bonus coverage. This ain't even going to be edited. I'm slapping it up right after this.
You're not even paying for this, people.
That's right. All right. Now, as for myself, I am Jesse Starcher. You can find me at Stiznarchy on Twitter. You can follow Source Material on Twitter as well. It's at SourceMatCast. Go give that Radulich Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. We cover a variety of things. We've talked about Iron Fist a lot within the last week or so. I think we obviously we've already talked about what we covered on Source Material and also on Screaming Boy, but Mark and Robert Winfrey, I believe, discussed the Netflix series themselves, which was last Tuesday or sometime. So go check that out in the archives if you get the opportunity. And I look forward, if everything works out okay, this episode should be airing like right after the second part of our Iron Fist coverage. And if that's the case, ladies and gentlemen, once I get settled in here at the new place, within a week or so, there might be some more bonus episodes that pop up. Maybe Ronnie Adams says, "Hey, Jesse, let's cover a what if." Or, hey, Jesse,
anytime you want, sir.
I know, dude. We could do it. That opens up a lot of possibilities. If we can upload,
it does.
We can just do single issues, real quick hits. Half hour, whatever. Just have a good time talking about one issue, and then. But yeah, look forward to that. It may happen in the future. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been my absolute pleasure to entertain you with this comic book podcast. We are out of here.
Napa know-how.
The Napa guy knows not to judge a man by his car's multicolored paint job or absence of modern gadgetry. Who cares if it's technically old enough to vote and the windows are powered by the strength of your left arm? Your monthly payment is zero, and it'll stay that way. Because with over 500,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep anything on the road. She may not be pretty, but she's all yours. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
Progressive presents Mindflowness with Flo.
Before you lies a beautiful meadow. In that meadow, Progressive Direct has placed its auto insurance rates alongside those of competitors. You select the lowest rate and feel a great sense of calm. A great sense of...
Compare Progressive Direct rates with competitors' rates so you can rest easy. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.